Hey guys, good morning everybody. Today is Tuesday, July 19th. It is 6:22 right now. Market's going to open in about 8 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and set up this room real quick, then we can get started with the session for this morning. Let's see. Got that set up. A couple more things here to set up, and we should be good to go for this live session this morning. That's good. That's good. All right, it's all set up and ready to go. I'm going to send this link out to you guys here in the premium so that you guys can join. So got that sent out to you guys. Looks good. All right, so as people join the room, I'm going to go ahead and mark up the high lows over here on the 1 minute. Hey, Kenny, morning. These marked up right here. 1 hour, go down to the 30-minute. Hey, Peter, morning. Morning, Fund Me, morning, Saren, morning, everybody. Just marking these up. Hey, Marco, morning. Morning, Marlon, morning, David, morning, everybody. All right, finish getting these high lows marked up here on the 15. 10. 5. And the 1 minute over here. So looks like we're good here with all the high lows. As you guys can see, there's a lot of liquidity here on both sides. There's one area of liquidity here on the top, and there's a lot of liquidity areas here on the bottom. So good morning, everybody. Today is Tuesday, July 19th. It is 6:26 right now. Market's going to open in about 4 minutes. I've marked up the high lows here on the 1 minute. Let's take a look at the overall bias for this morning. So looking at sentiment is currently at 57% long, indicating that 57% of retail traders are currently buying right now. So we want to do the opposite and sell. Looking over at the fundamentals, they're currently up 259 points. So there's a conflict right there with regard to fundamentals and retail sentiment. However, I think price will be coming down eventually. It might not happen right on open, but I think eventually will come down. Also, let's see if there's anything else that I'm missing here. So on the 10-minute over here, guys, I sent you guys an example of the intraday entry. For this one, this was my bad. It was my mistake because I did send you guys this example over here. However, this example did not meet all the requirements. If you guys remember for the intraday. So basically, for this second requirement, the two previous high lows have to or the third requirement actually, where they can't overlap. So I showed you guys this sell yesterday, this one right here, but I accidentally didn't look at these two right here. because these two actually overlap. One had to be higher than the other. So that was my mistake calling this trade right here. This one, it did lose, but it wasn't a valid trade. This one over here actually won. This was another entry, but this one was actually valid because this one didn't overlap. You can see this low right here and this low right here was lower, so these didn't overlap. This was a variation. This was, well, this is probably not going to be a strong requirement. The second one where you need a variation engulfing, you basically just need these to not overlap. And then we had an entry right here. This hit full TP. So this is an actual entry. This one was my mistake for calling this. It wasn't, the requirements weren't met. So we'll go over this during the mentoring session, but I just wanted to show you guys that there was another one here. I missed this one. Actually, I woke up like a few minutes late, or I was awake, but I just wasn't on my computer. And this one closed and it ended up hitting full TP. So unfortunately, I'm at break even for this week with this strategy. I have one win, one loss. This one over here would have brought me back in profit, but it's okay. Other than that, back at the 1 minute over here. So we'll probably be looking for a sell on open, but we'll see what will happen here with the breakout. We do have a bullish momentum, but this can easily shift back to the downside, obviously. So there's a breakout right there. Market's going to open in about 2 minutes. Let's see who else is here. Morning, Fahad. Morning, David. Morning, Akil. Morning, Lisa. Morning, everybody. So just a reminder, guys, today we're having our group mentoring session at 2 o'clock. I'll be going over the intraday strategy and a couple other questions that other members here have. So market is opening in about a minute. Market opens, we'll look for a breakout entry here. If we have a candle here that closes with a sell signal, then we might be looking for a sell for the breakout, which is preferable. But we'll see. So here we go. As price starts to make its way down. And also there's one thing that I want to show you guys too during the mentoring session. It's basically just main things to look for confluence. So basically, whenever I look for entry now, well, this is typically what I do look for. You want to look for a couple things. You want to look for trend, rejection off structure. What else did I send them in? Trend, rejection off structure, basically strategy confluence, and direction momentum. So if I see that here for the breakout, we might take the breakout, but I'll have to let you guys know once it actually closes. It looks like there's no sessions that are nearby, so it's a good thing. But we do want to confirm a couple other things. So the market is now open, guys, right here. I don't think there's any news right now. Let's see. Yeah, there's no news this morning. There was news at 5:30, and that was about it. So I'll mark up news price right here. It's pretty far down, so it's not, I don't think it's going to be an issue for us. All right, so if this candle closes right here as a strong red candle, this would be the breakout. A couple things that we want to look for. There is the higher highs that don't overlap right there. The previous high lows do not overlap. Sell momentum. Trend here is bearish for the momentum and the pivots. So this here is a breakout. I'm gonna wait for it to come back down. If it does come back down, then I'll take it for a sell. Let's see how far it comes down from right here. So I'm not in this position yet right here. The sentiment is bearish. The fundamentals are still bullish though, I think. So this might be a bit of an iffy move. Yeah, fundamentals are still at 206 points. This right here, we have, so I'm basically waiting for it to come back down because the problem with this is this candle here is too big. So it's retracing up a little bit and I'll wait for it to maybe swing its way back down. And then maybe make a late entry. So not in the position yet. So I'm not in it yet, but if it does come back down, guys, I will take it down for a late entry for a sell. Still not in the position yet. So we have a bearish bias right here with regard to the trend. There goes price fills. See, I'm not in it yet. Come back down. There you go. I'm in the position now. So let's see if I want to. What's this here? It's good. Currently in profit. If I close it early, I'll let you guys know. It's a bit of an iffy kind of movement here. So it comes back down. I don't like the market movement today. This like whole, I mean not this whole week, but the past couple of weeks have been kind of choppy for the breakout. Let's see. I mean, if it hits my stop loss, it's my stop loss, but it's yeah, the breakouts have been like super choppy lately. I think overall price will be coming down. Let's see if there's any other news today. I've been taking my trades with like half lot size because I need to keep my my margin for the other trade too, for the other daily entry, not the daily entry, the intraday entry. So is there any other news this morning? Okay, my stop loss. All right, so hit my stop loss, guys. Unfortunately, I'm in the hole this week now due to the bad trade I took yesterday too. So this was a breakout right here, guys. That did hit stop loss. Unfortunately, this was a risky trade. I don't really know why I took the trade. I took it because I thought it was going to come back down. Overall, I thought price was going to drop because of the sentiment, but the sentiment wasn't even that strong. Realistically, it was only 56%. So yeah, one stop loss right there for the breakout. I'll look for another V3. If I have a V3, I can probably cover it because I can do it for a 1-to-1. But yeah, for this right here, stop loss on the breakout for today. Let's see. Kodi's asking, hello, Sean. Overall trend today is bullish. Fundamentals over 200 points. Sentiment is almost neutral. Why would you look for a short on the breakout? Because I was looking for a sell overall for today. So that's why I was looking for this to come back down. I was just looking for this to correct back down from the movement last night, right here from London session. But you are right. I did. That was a risky trade. The only reason I took the sell here is because I thought this was going to come back down from this point. You can see price has been dropping since yesterday. It came back up right here around London, and I was expecting it to turn back around. So this bullish push right here was pushing up, and I was expecting it to come back down from this point, but unfortunately it didn't come down. A lot of choppiness right here off the breakout, but it's all good. I should have waited a bit longer, because if I waited for this to come back down and then waited for it for a third time to retest, then I probably wouldn't be in the trade yet. But you know, I just jumped off instinct, and unfortunately I got caught in that there. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back down later though. So like looking at this right here, if this does end up coming back down, it was just too early to entry. And you can see price is now coming back down right here. This is a V3, but I might hold off on this first. So this is a V3 that I was talking about, where I was like, okay, I might take the V3 and then cover the loss here for the breakout. But I'm going to hold off on it right now. So what I'll do is I'll wait for a V3 to come up here, and then if it comes back down, retraces up for the retest, then I'll take it for the entry right here, but not off the first one. Yeah, it'd be too close. So I'm waiting for an actual V3, then I'm going to take the second one that comes down from it. And I'll just use the proper lot size to cover this trade right here. Let's see if there's anything else over here that I'm missing. Kill said took a big loss, gonna call it a day, see you tomorrow, Sean. Guys, if you guys are taking these breakouts, don't take them with like a crazy lot size, right? So a kill for this trade, you should have risked like maybe like 1 or 2%, right? So it wouldn't be that bad. You guys can't just bank on the breakout and expect this to always hit. But you know, just take that as a lesson to kill. Whenever you guys take these trades, don't take like more than like 2%. Because if you're taking this is a one-on-one strategy. So for this right here, you should be risking as much as you pretty much risk on the other variations, right? It's a bigger move, so you should be using a smaller lot size. Because if you're taking the if you're taking a scalp, it's only a 300 pip stop loss. So yeah, you can take like a bigger lot size, but for the 500 pip stop loss, you have to use a smaller lot size for this. Gosh, yeah, kill risk 2.5%, which is a lot because if you risk 2.5%, that's basically half of your daily drawdown, right? So just keep that in mind. Kill. Darash, morning. So, all right, let me just clean this up a little bit. We'll mark up a couple different things over here. I probably should have sat out on that trade, but it's all good. I've been making a lot of mistakes lately with regard to identifying these entries. Like yesterday, I took this one over here, but this one wasn't even an entry. Same with like the breakout today. I gotta get a clear head. But I'm looking for another one of these intraday entries because this will just cover pretty much that that loss for me. But in order for us to get another intraday entry on the 10-minute, we need to have a retracement here, and then we'll catch it as it swings back up. So I'll be following this. I have my alert set up for the momentum indicator over here. We need a retracement signal, and then on the next one, we can take it for a buy. Or if it switches to the other side, we can switch over to a sell. We just need to confirm that all the requirements here are met for this specific strategy on the intraday. This one's been pretty good as long as like all the requirements are met. It's got to make sure I don't skip any steps on this one as we continue to test it. Hey, Randy, morning. Jonathan said I lost 42 bucks. I closed at 100, but there was slippage. Yeah. Yeah, these candles here are moving pretty quick. So Jonathan said he closed at 100 bucks in profit, but he actually got a loss for that one there. Yeah, Tony said stop loss for V3 was less than 30 points. Yeah, it was too close for this one right here. So there's no V3 right here, guys. This doesn't meet all the requirements for the V3 right here. We need a minimum stop loss of 300 pips. So as Tony mentioned, the stop loss here would need to be at least 300 pips. So no entry off the breakout right there. Let me check a couple things right here. This was not the breakout for the V3. So for yeah, this breakout here was actually a bad trade. I've been taking 2 back-to-back bad trades today. My analysis, I just didn't fully analyze this breakout right here because the problem with this right here is there's a couple of things that I want to look for when I'm confluences I look for before entering a trade. So first, I want to look for the trend. 2, I want to look for price rejection off structure. 3, I want to confirm direction of momentum. And then lastly, I want to confirm what's my confirming? Bias, overall bias. And lastly, I want to confirm strategy. So there's a couple confluences here, and a lot of these didn't actually meet for this breakout. You know, I think I kind of revenge trade on that one, honestly. I was trying to make back my loss from yesterday. But yeah, and these arrows aren't working. For this right here, we did have the trend slightly for this one right here because it was below the pivots. It wasn't a strong trend, but actually we didn't even have the trend. It was neutral. I thought this was red down here. We had direction to buy it, direction momentum. We had the retail sentiment. There was no direction off structure. So this right here, no, I still wouldn't take it. So when I talk about price rejection off structure, what I'm talking about is if you guys have a high-low drawn right here, and you see a wick rejection off it, which was right here. So this isn't an actual entry, but yeah, this V3 here was me. The high was up here. Overall bias. I mean, there still isn't anything for us to take. So I'll look for an entry here. If I see something here, I'll try to go over these confluences. I'll try to keep this on here so that we can check these things off so that you guys know what to look for. But currently right now, there just isn't anything for us to take. There was a V3 here, but it didn't fit the requirements for minimum stop loss. And right now, price is pretty much just ranging. I think eventually it's going to come back down though. Not yet, but I do think eventually. Here, let's see. C traders or Sam says, Sean, is your mic volume a little low? Guys, is there an issue with the volume? If there is, let me know so I can try to fix it. Or it might just be Sam. Maybe your computer. Yeah, Randy says it's fine, and Cody says it's fine too. Sam, so it might be your computer volume. Thanks, D. Yeah, D said it's fine too. Sasha says good. Una says good. Okay. Yeah, it just might be on your computer, Sam. Natasha said same thing happened to me. I closed in profit, but ended up with a loss. So it looks like there's some slippage going on with certain account with. Are you guys on FTMO or on MFF? It might just be like one broker, maybe. Ross is asking, does anyone know a good US broker that accepts wire transfers? Yeah, guys, if you guys know any, like, I haven't used a personal broker in a while. Before, the only broker that I would use would be He Goes Away, which, I mean, they're okay, but they're not like the best brokers. So if you want to use them, I mean, they get the job done, but they're not really wire transfers. So they're you have to buy through Bitcoin. I think all of the unregulated brokers require Bitcoin. If you're looking for like a US broker that's regulated, then you could probably use something like TradeStation if you want to trade futures, or TD Ameritrade if you want to trade like multiple assets, or Ross. But if you're using a US broker, like a regulated one, it's going to require more capital because of the low leverage. Like John said yesterday, you mentioned maybe doing a fixed TP stop loss of 300. Was it for that V3 that you were talking about? So John's asking about the, I'm trying to figure out a fixed TP stop loss on the 1 minute. I think 300 might be the sweet spot. So yeah, but this is something that I have to go back and like review. So yeah, John, if you're to use a fixed TP stop loss for the V3, then this is what it would be set up as. But then this would go against the requirement here with the minimum TP stop loss. So I'm not like ready to change that yet, but we need to see if it works. Like if it works, then great. So let's just go back and review this trade real quick. If and when we took this trade, we didn't take it, so this isn't going to be counted, but I'm just going to show you guys the confluences here. So for one, the trend doesn't meet. Price rejecting off structure, we do have that. right here. Direction momentum, we don't have that here, but we do have the pending momentum. So I guess that could fit. It's 2 requirements. Overall bias doesn't meet. It's still kind of neutral right now. Yeah, so for this right here, there's no additional strategy confluence. Yeah, I wouldn't have taken this trade right here, John, even though it did hit CP. Typically, when looking at these confluences, you want about like 4 confluences before you take the trade. If I do find something good here, I'll mark it up and I'll show you guys. But I wouldn't have taken this trade right here, even though it did hit full TP. But yeah, if you wanted to use a fixed TP stop loss, that would have been the case. But I would only use that if you have a lot of confluences here, because then you have a good chance of it actually hitting or continuing in that direction. So, and that's another thing that we'll go over during the mentoring session later today. We got a lot of stuff to cover today, because I did make 2 mistakes today, or like back to back. I made a mistake for this breakout here, which I probably shouldn't have taken, and then also the 10-minute over here. But I'm really just looking for 1 more. If I have 1 more here off the 10-minute intraday, then this will pretty much make up for the loss that I suffered off that trade. It's all good. Here, let's see. Randy's asking, or he's mentioning, there's a running 5-minute V3 sell right now. So confirm this right here. All right, so the V3 that Randy is referring to is going to be this one right here. And this is what I'll do here as well. I will influence checklist. So I'll open this right here. This is not a position that I'm in, but I'm going to go over the checklist that I just showed you guys to determine if this is, you know, a good trade or not. I don't think there's that many that meet the so this isn't a trade, guys. Don't enter this trade right here. I just want to go over the confluences to show you guys, you know, whether it's a good trade or not. I don't see this as a good trade because the confluences here don't really check off. So looking at this again right here, looking at the trend, this doesn't meet, right? So this doesn't meet right here. Price rejection off structure, we do have that. It's rejecting off the other high. So we have that correction momentum. That's not met either. Overall bias, that's not met. An additional strategy confluence, not met. So realistically, off this entry right here, there's just 1 confluence that's met. So with that said, I wouldn't consider this a good trade and not one that I would personally take myself. But yes, this is a V3 right here. The main thing would be the bias. So since we don't have a bias right here, I don't think the sells, it's not ready to take just yet. There might be like 1 entry that'll come up. If this hits TP, then the next one maybe, because then price will be down here. So say, for example, this does hit, comes down below, come up for a small retracement, and then continue dropping. If that becomes the case, then we'll have the trend. So if we have that, we can take this off right here. And then if we have that play out as well, there'll be an additional strategy confluence because there'll be 2 V3s following each other. So if you have that, that'd be added. Direction momentum, this would probably be the case because price will start coming down from there. You can take that off. And at that point, you'll have about like 4 confluences right here, right? So for this first one right here, I wouldn't take it. But if we have a second one that continues down below, then you'll have a couple other confluences here that line up. So just an FYI, you know, the more confluences, the better. Because if you guys have that, then you'll have more confidence in taking a trade. But other than that, there's nothing here right now at the moment for the 5-minute price is really just ranging right here. You can see from this point, price is ranging from this high to that low right there. And it's pretty much just going back and forth sideways between this point. Back to the 1 minute over here. Let me just update a couple things. Another V3 right here, but it doesn't meet the requirement. Same thing that we were looking at prior. We need that minimum TP stop loss, right? Of 300 pips. So John, here's the thing that you were referring to again earlier regarding the fixed TP stop loss. Not one that I would take yet because again, the confluences here don't line up. There's no trend confirmation for a sell yet. Price rejecting off structure. So we can look back to see if there's a like where the entry or where the direction started. So again, right here, we still have that. So that's met right here. That's met. Confirmed direction momentum. We have a pending sell momentum right here, so that can be met as well. Overall bias still isn't met. And we have one additional strategy confluence because the prior V3 over here did hit its TP if you were applying the same strategy back to back. So I'm not in this position right here, but as you guys can see, the entries here are starting to look a little better because there's more confluences here lining up. So as price makes its way back down right here, if it retraces up and then comes back down lower, then we'll be able to confirm the trend, right? So if you have that, then you'll have like 4 confluences right there. And at that point, you can probably take a trade and feel comfortable about taking it. So hopefully this is starting to make sense to you guys. I'm just showing you guys that the more confluences you have, the better the trade. And the more confident you can be with, taking an entry. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, Sam also mentioned that price is close to opening price, which is going to be right over here. I think we have news coming up as well today. You can see where price is rejecting off right here. So this is another structure. So it's like, say for example, price comes below, retest the opening price, and then drops lower. That would be considered price rejection off structure for another confluence. So basically what I'm trying to show you guys here is that, you guys will have the baseline strategy. Like for example, you'll have a V3, a V1, V2, etc. And the reason why I'm introducing these confluences here to you guys, because a lot of people have been asking, how do I identify a risky trade from a safe trade? And basically the more confluences you have here, trend, price rejection off structure, confirmation of momentum, direction, bias, this is going to be the main one. This should probably be number 1. I'm going to try to set these up where these are in order. I just listed things because it was easier to list that way, but realistically, the realistically, this is probably going to be the list right here. So confluence checklist. There's still no entries for us to take right now. If you guys see anything, just let me know and I'll try to analyze it to show you guys how do I determine whether it's a safe trade or not. Strategy confluence. So yeah, this one here is currently still running if you're trying to run it without the minimum stop loss requirement, but it's not a position that I'm in yet. Yeah, Patricia said market sucks, and I agree. It's just been like really choppy lately, or not really choppy, but there's been a lot of ranges. So if you guys have noticed the market today and yesterday, like price just gets stuck in a range for like a long time. It doesn't necessarily continue pushing. So I'll keep marking these up right here. If we see another entry, I'll mark things up to show you guys the confluences. But currently right now, there still is no direction. Looks like price is starting to make its way back down. Let's take a look at the sentiment. Sentiment is still pretty flat. So this is like, I think this is probably the biggest red flag with in-range trades, because typically when we're taking trades in one direction or the other, we're looking for this to be at least 60 to 65% or more in one direction. If we have that, then it's easy to look for a proper bias. But currently right now, this is pretty neutral. It's at 55%. There's like really no direction with regard to where traders or where resale traders are currently trading, because it just keeps changing, right? It'll go from like 55 to 50, and it'll go back to like 57, but it never really goes over 60%. Also looking over here at the fundamentals are currently up 273 points. So this is this makes it a bit difficult because these conflict, right? So this is telling you that price is bullish with regard to fundamentals. This is telling you that price is neutral. It's like somewhat bearish, but it's not really that bearish. And then lastly, let's take a look at the heat map. I think the heat map is pretty much going to be all green right now. Yeah, it's pretty much all green at the moment. So at the moment right now, there's really no reason to take any sells. That's why I'm kind of kicking myself for taking that breakout earlier. I knew I shouldn't have taken the breakout, but kind of just jumped into the trade without fully analyzing it. Other than that, let's see, Kenny sent me a link. Thanks, Kenny. So Kenny said House leadership caucuses holds news conference. Okay, so House Democratic and Republican leadership hold separate news conference on July 19th. So it looks like there's stuff going on behind the scenes today with regard to the House representatives. They haven't started speaking yet. This wasn't on the calendar, so. Yeah, you guys want to be careful taking entries depending on what they're going to be discussing here. So there goes price pushing back up to the upside. At this point, we might have to be looking for buys. I was waiting for price to swing back down, but I don't think price is going to swing back down at this point. I think now we might just have to look for some buys here. There was actually a V3 right here for a buy. Okay, so back to the V3 that I showed you guys earlier. Let's just analyze this right here. I know this doesn't fit all the requirements, but let's let me show you guys. There's actually a couple entries here that could have been, let's see how far this retracement right here. So this entry right here would have lost, but I'm looking at this V3 right here. So overall bias right now is going to be bullish, obviously, for the fundamentals and trend. So overall bias here is bullish. Price rejection off this structure right here, which is the opening price. Trend is bullish. Confirmation of directional momentum, bullish. Actually, so this wouldn't be a V3 because there's no pending momentum. But you can see that this right here, you could have anticipated this bullish push because all the other requirements here, or not requirements, confluences were aligned. So there is technically a V3 there, but no pending momentum, so there'd be no entry. But we do have the overall bias here for a buy. I might have to yeah, it looks like we're gonna be shifting buys here. So what I wanted to show you guys here was the additional confluence. So when you guys are looking for additional confluence, it doesn't have to be a valid entry, but it just needs to be a pattern for some sort of strategy, right? So looking at this low right here, there's a V3. This would be considered a strategy confluence, even though it's not like an actual valid entry. It's just a pattern that you're looking for to confirm the direction. So like right here, since we have this lined up, the next buy, whether it be a variation or any other type strategy, could be a possible entry for us to take here. And Natasha said kind of hard to learn how to trade when the market is like this. I'm not That struggle bus. Oh yeah, definitely, Natasha. Yeah, Jesus here actually caught the liquidity push. Nice work right there, Jesus. So there's so many strategies to look at here that like even I didn't like pay attention to that right there, but nice job, Jesus, on identifying that. So like the liquidity push right here that Jesus was talking about was this area right here. There's an area of liquidity right here. Jesus took that buy right there. And just using this confluence that I just showed you guys again, the bias right now is bullish. Price rejected off structure. The trend was bullish. The direction momentum here was bullish. And the additional strategy confluence off this V3. So pretty much all the confluences here were lined up. And that aligned with Jesus's ability to take this for a liquidity push um, right here. So I think like when you can't find an actual strategy to apply when trying to trade in a direction, the liquidity push is like a good alternative. Because like for example, right here, I guess Jesus took it from right here, took it for a quick 100 pips, and straight to a TP right there. So yeah, no, it looks good, Jesus. That was a good call on taking that there. Mauricio said Nasdaq has been smoother. Yeah, I don't want to go over to Nasdaq though. I might mess up my accounts if I end up doing that. Um, but it has been a lot smoother right here. Gotcha. Okay, good to know. Yeah, E said Nasdaq works the same as US30, same lot sizing. The only problem with Nasdaq here is that I don't know the sweet spot for TP. Like for example, on the US30 over here, we can use like a 1030 for the 1 minute entries. I don't know what it would be for Nasdaq though. Okay, gotcha. So E said he typically uses 150. So he does a bit like of the I'm just gonna look for an actual like an entry here that came up and see if there's a V1 right here. Yeah, actually looks pretty solid. Yeah, that might be a good sweet spot. This is like for 2 to 1 because we have we're actually not even, or yeah, I guess the risk reward is a little better on here, but I need to figure out like what would be the sweet spot. There's another entry right here for a V3. Uh, we'll have to come back and take a look at this. I mean, I don't want to do this on the live and then give you guys a trade on Nasdaq and then the parameters are wrong. But we'll I mean, if US30 keeps moving kind of funky like this, then maybe we'll have to move over to Nasdaq for a bit until it starts smoothing out. Yeah, E said you don't really get wigged out like US30, so smaller stop loss is fine. Spread is much better as well. Oh, it's good to know. So maybe we'll do that if like US30 doesn't provide any good entries for us. The problem with US30 is that it's been so choppy the past couple of days. And there hasn't been really a clear direction. Like for example, right here, market opened at 6:30. And you guys can see that price did push up, but it was a pretty choppy move to the upside right here. There still isn't any entries for us to take at the moment, unfortunately. Let's go back to the 10. No entries off the 10 either right now. E said MFF execution times seem to be better on NASDAQ too. Kodi said 8 to 9 for NASDAQ, 14 on US30. Yeah, so I mean, if you guys see an entry on NASDAQ, I'll mark it up for you guys. I'm not ready to take trades on NASDAQ yet, though. So, we'll mark it up, but it's going to be hard for me to really determine what the TP stop loss would be for this specific asset here. So, like, for example, right here, there was a intraday entry. So you guys are saying 100, 150. So if you guys are familiar with the intraday strategy, there was an intraday and pivot scalp strategy right here. Pivot scalp and intraday momentum. So looking at this right here, trying to see if there's any other confluences that I see at the moment. This one hasn't updated yet. Checklist. All right, so like for this right here, we have the trend here for a sell, price rejection off structure. I don't think there was price rejection here. Actually, opening price was right here. No, there's no price rejection off structure. Direction momentum, it's there, overall bias. So they still haven't spoken yet here. I don't know if they spoke already or it looks like they're about to start. Bias right now for NASDAQ. I don't know why they took NASDAQ off here. US100 sentiment. Actually, I think I have it right here. Okay, yeah. So NASDAQ is a little smoother because the sentiment is a lot higher. So it's easier to take sells off this here. It's 58% long. So looking at this right here, we do have the trend, overall bias, momentum, additional strategy confluence. Not exactly. So just a couple things here. So there's about 3 confluences that lined up with this here. But there's no other entry available at the moment. So if we get another sell here off NASDAQ, this might be a possible good entry because we do have a strategy confluence with this intraday entry right here. We can take this off. And now there's about 1, 2, 3, 4. There's about 4 confluences available on this. Yeah, E said you feel like you don't get screwed as often. Yeah, no, I agree too. And E said since it's basically one-on-one, you can take more riskier trades. I prefer it lately. Yeah, I've seen a lot of you guys here trading NASDAQ because US30 has just been too choppy. A lot of times you'll get spiked out of a position, like it'll spike to your stop loss and then it'll come back down, right? Which is, it's frustrating when you have a trade that's, when it's like in profit or when it's like close to your TP, it ends up spiking up, it stops you out, and then it comes right back down due to the choppiness. So we'll go back and forth. I mean, if you guys see any entries off NASDAQ, just let me know. I'll pull it up. I'll analyze it. I'll try to go over the confluences to show you guys if there's anything good there. Yeah, I mean, for the most part right here, it looks like if this comes back down further for another sell, then it could provide for maybe a solid entry. But anyways, back to US30. Nothing here off the 10-minute. I was still waiting for this to pull back. So I need this to retrace a little bit and then correction back to the upside in order for us to have this intraday. So whenever I see these entries right here, guys, I'll give you guys a markup and I'll send it in the group so that you guys can follow along. I still find the strategy to have a very high win rate. So if you guys can catch at least a couple of these a day, it'll set you in profit. And then you can use this profit made from this strategy to give you some cushion for the 1 minute entries, because 1 minute entries are obviously going to be a lot more riskier depending on how much confidence you have with your entry points. iPhone's asking, is NASDAQ on FTMO? Yes, it's under US 100. I think it's under US 100. It should be. All right, so price is still pushing up right here. Looks like it's reaching this area of, or this high over here on the higher time frames, like the 1 hour. But just broke past that high right there. Still no entries for us to take at the moment. And the confluences here for this strategy as well, guys, work just the same. So let me go back over here real quick to this entry that came up right here at 550. And I'm just going to show you guys like the checklist that I just showed you guys right now with regard to confluence. So refresh this. Confluence checklist. So here we go with the confluence checklist again. And I was just going to show you guys from this entry right here. So looking at this right here, this is an intraday entry that came up right here. So looking down over here, you want to confirm that there's two previous high lows that don't overlap. So this is one right here, and there's one right here. Second, you want to confirm that there's a variation and an engulfing. So for that, right here is a V3, and right here is, there's nothing off this right here. For this, we might have to just change it because I don't think this is really on the higher time frames. This isn't going to be as important. I think the most important thing is that it doesn't overlap. So for this right here, we have an entry. It's a green momentum signal with a green trend meter. We have these two lows that overlap. It's a fixed TP stop loss of 500 pips. Looking over at the confluences over here, and the time requirement does fit because this entry came up at 550. It's okay to take trades around that time. But looking over here at the confluence, so for the trend, it is bullish here. Trend meter is green, pivots are green or above, or I mean price is above the pivots. Price rejection off structure. If you wanted to go back to the previous lows here, you can see that it does reject off this structure. Confirmation of the direction of momentum, bullish momentum right there. Overall bias, bullish. Additional strategy confluence, there's a V3 right here. So pretty much all the confluences here line up, right? All five of them. So with that said, you have basically a perfect entry. If you were to take this right here, you can see that it does hit full TP. So the more confluences you have, the almost guaranteed win that you're going to get off that trade. So just use that to your advantage when you guys take a trade. All of them don't have to meet, but if they all do meet, typically it's going to be a for sure win. And we'll go over this again later during the mentoring session later today. There just isn't anything for us to take right now at the moment. If we did have something to take, then I'd be looking for actual entries. But at the moment, there isn't anything for us to take right now. Yeah, you know the mistake that I did for the breakout today, and this is where I kind of screwed up, was that I've been testing the breakout when to take opposite positions. So like Kodi, remember from this morning, you were asking like, why would I take a sell at that time? I don't know, maybe I'm dyslexic or something like that, but I was thinking I was thinking the opposite thing. I was actually thinking of taking the opposite trade. So I've been testing the, let me see if I have it over here. The breakout. Um, so let me see if I can move this over here real quick. Can't copy this over. So I've been doing a lot of testing and like looking at this right here, this is the stats for the breakout. So I think this is kind of what screwed me over today because I've been trying a lot of different, I'm trying to figure out like what we can do to take the breakout every single day. So I pretty much marked up here when things align. The thing with today is that I actually took the trade in the wrong direction. So what I do here is I mark up the losses and I figure out what doesn't show up when the losses occur, right? And that's actually what happened today. So like for today, Tony was saying, you know, if the trend was neutral, like for example, right here, neutral or opposite, we could have actually taken an opposite trade. So instead of taking a sell, I should have taken a buy here. Yeah, like Tony said, sentiment was neutral. So you can see right here, this is an example of a breakout that happened on the 13th, where we could have taken an opposite trade. So there was no overlap. There was no candle on the 10-minute that aligned with it, and the rest was neutral. So instead of taking a loss here, I could have taken an opposite trade, and then we could have won that breakout. I mean, eventually I'm gonna get better at identifying bad trades so that we can take the opposite move. But that's pretty much what I've been working on lately. I've been trying to figure out what's like one trade we could take every day, which would be the breakout, right? Because the breakout happens every day. So we can take the breakout. We can either take in the direction of momentum or we can take the opposite. So it'll be like a 50-50% chance, not really 50-50, but it's going to be a 1-to-1. And as long as we're right, more days than other, it's going to be profitable for us. So, and we'll go over that during the mentoring session later today as well. You know, I've just been doing a lot of testing the past couple of weeks. You know, you guys remember I had COVID the past 2 weeks. So I've been doing a lot of testing to accommodate for like times where we can take trades, but not always in the direction of our entry. Like for example, right here for the breakout, there were so many red flags here indicating that price would be going the opposite way, but and I mean, unfortunately, I took it in the direction of momentum when I should have taken the opposite. So like whenever it's neutral or if it doesn't align, then I would actually take the opposite trade with regard to the confluences here. Because a lot of these things here didn't meet. So there was no price rejection. There was no, one thing that I also look at here, there is no high off the 10. So I don't know if you guys noticed this, but there is a pattern that kind of plays out on the 10-minute. I showed you guys it yesterday. So if you're on the 10-minute here, typically this is what this is like a really good confluence to confirm when you're looking for momentum. So like for example, find one here. I have to go somewhere farther back. So whenever you get a momentum signal, you could look back at the previous high. And typically if it's a certain color, it'll continue pushing that direction. So for example, right here, there's a momentum for a sell. You look at the previous high. If the high is the same color as the momentum, so this high here is red. This is basically a reversal pattern. Price pushed up right here. The high here is red and you have it followed by the momentum signal. Typically it continues to push in that direction. It's just a continuation of the direction. So you can see how price continues to drop in that direction right there. You know, similar to this right here. We have a bullish momentum. The low right here is green. Odds of this continuing to push in that direction are very likely. And you can even take off the pivots and the trend meter. So the low here is green, bullish green momentum candle. We'll TP off that. Again, right here, same pattern. Sell momentum. The high right here is red. Odds of this pushing down lower, likely. So this is a pretty strong confluence that that works on the 10-minute. And you can see right there that the back-to-back wins. Another one right there, and then one last one. Oh, and here's one where you can take the opposite. So as I was mentioning, you know, whenever you look at these momentum signals, it's just a catalyst. It indicates where price is likely to go. So for example, right here, we have a bullish momentum, but the bottom here is not green, right? The low is not green. Instead of taking a buy, I could take a short, because you're basically you're predicting that price is going to do the opposite. It's going to reverse on you. So instead of taking the buy there, you take the sell, and it would have hit TP there too. So just a couple of things here, like a preview of what I'm going to go over during the mentoring session later today. But there's a lot of little patterns here that you can use for confluences when identifying certain entries. But there still isn't anything for us to take right now. Not sure if you guys are seeing anything on the 1 minute. I haven't seen anything myself. If there is something that you guys see, just let me know, and then we'll take a look. But there's just nothing for us to take right now at the moment. Price is still bullish, but there's no buy entries that have come up at the moment yet. There's no variations because there's no pending momentum. In order for us to get a variation here on the 1 minute, we need price to pull back first, provide a retracement signal, and then a continuation to the upside. But right now, nothing at the moment. So entries for buys actually look good right now. And just the reason for that is that we have price trending up, price above the pivots, trend meters green. Looking at the previous lows over here, we have V1 right there. Not a full V1 like an actual entry, but it's just a strategy confluence. There's a V1 right there and then a V3 right here. So, and another V3 down here as well. So just looking at all of these different confluences here, indicating that price is likely to continue pushing up. We just need to wait for an actual entry to come up. But there is nothing for me right here. Yeah, Kevin said, yeah, Sean, I was wondering about the trade you took for a sell because I took it for a buy. Yeah, I kind of screwed up with my analysis off that breakout, Kevin. I think it's because I've been testing so many things lately that my mind's kind of all over the place with regard to these entries. But you know, it's all trial and error. Like, but what I'm trying to figure out here is to figure out the breakout, whether we can take the breakout in either direction. So, like for example, here, like I was just showing you guys, the sells right here. There's 3 confluences, right? So if we have like 3 or 4 confluences, it'll typically hit. If there's like 2 confluences, or if like there's 0, we can actually take the opposite. So like for example, right here on the 6th, there was a sell breakout. It was a loss, but since there was less confluences, and actually there was like 0 confluences here because the trend meter was bullish. So like for example, here on the 6th, there was a sell, but the trend meter was bullish, pivots were bullish. If we were to take a buy instead of the sell, we could have made use of this trade and still won it, even though the breakout was for a sell. So we'll go over that later today during the mentoring session. But there's going to be a lot of different ways to apply these strategies to take them for opposite directions instead of the actual one. If the confluence is indicated opposite direction. There's a couple of profits here actually that you guys have posted. So Kenny over here posted some profits. He actually locked in 264 for the day. Nice work, Kenny. And his second account over here locked in 423. So nice work right there, Kenny. Other than that, I think that's it for right now. Let's see. Madu said there's a green candle for a high-low scalp buying a few minutes ago. I went straight to TB, but I think the candle was 300 pips. Is that a candle red flag, or should I have taken that trade? So Madu's talking about a scalp right here. All right. So we do actually identify this high-low scalp right here. If you guys are not familiar with that strategy, I'll put it right here. So confirm overall bias. Bias is bullish right now. Looking over here at the fundamentals are still up 424 points. Looking at sentiment right here, this is not going to be useful to us because it's pretty much flat. It's just neutral. So it is bullish. Overall bias is bullish. Confirm the previous high-low using the K2 high-low indicator. Right here is the high. Confirm price breaking close past the previous high-low. This is going to be the breaking close right there. Confirm you're trading the direction momentum. Right here we have a bullish momentum, so that fits the requirement. Confirm price is not ranging or consolidating. It was ranging right here, but this candle broke out of it, so it's no longer ranging. And confirm price has not touched the previous swing before the breaking close. So price did not touch it. And this right here would have been the entry. Yeah, no, so this is a perfect entry right here, but dude, there's nothing wrong with it. Using this confirmation of the actual entry and then using the confluences that I just showed you guys earlier, this will actually give you a pretty perfect entry. Unfortunately, I didn't see it myself. I missed it, but the trend here is bullish, so that's going to fit confluence 1. Price rejection off structure. I don't think we have that, but that's fine. That's just one that's not on there. Confirm direction momentum. It's bullish right here. Overall bias is bullish. Additional confluence looking over at this one right here is a V1. So there's actually, you have an entry here for a high-low, and you have 4 confluences right here, right? You're just missing the price rejection off structure. One thing that you can do for this as well is you can go on the 10-minute and look at that same thing that I was showing you guys earlier. So this right here doesn't meet because it have to be a green candle, but it's perfectly fine. But other than that, you have pretty much everything here that lines up. So if you were to take this trade here, Madhu, this is actually a good entry because you have the confluences line up. There's just one confluence that hasn't lined up with it, but you still have 4 confluences right there. You take this for a quick 100 pips and then full TP right there. So it did line up perfect, Madhu, and I wouldn't consider this a red flag. This would be perfectly fine. It would be a red flag if this candle here was like 600 pips, right? So for example, if this was like down like to here, and then your stop loss would be like halfway of the candle, then yeah, that'd be a red flag because it can pull back and hit your stop loss before pushing up higher. But other than that, this pretty much lines up with it perfectly fine. So nice calling out, Madhu. I wish I would have spotted that myself. This is why I have to stick to like one chart. So if I go between NASDAQ and US30, I'm going to miss trades like this, which obviously I did. So it's all good. But here we are. There's no variations right here. In order for us to get a variation, we need a pending signal. So this is where you guys can shift your focus. So instead of looking for variations right here, what you might want to look for are these high-low entries, right? What Madhu is looking for, because there's no pending momentum. So I think we might have to set, like, maybe I'll make a list for you guys to show you guys which ones do require pending momentum. So like, for example, right here, the high-low scalp doesn't require pending momentum. So you can take this if you do see anything. Everything else here requires momentum, I believe. Yeah, all the variations do. So whenever you don't have momentum like this right here, the next type of entry that you'd be looking for would be high-low scalps. So, and Madhu probably already knew that. So that's probably why he was already paying attention and looking for, high-low scalps to come in. So I think that would be probably our main focus right now. Since there's no variations to take right now due to no pending momentum, we would look for high-low scalps if we could find something. There's actually a couple of high-low scalps here that came up. There was another one right here. This came up right here at 658. Another high-low scalp, and it would have hit straight to TP. So another high-low scalp right there. And this would have aligned with Jesus as well, because Jesus did take this for the liquidity push right there. Other than that, there's not really much to take right now. Looks like the US30 is trying to lose steam. All right, so this might be setting up for another high-low scalp. Just keep in mind that in order to have this high established, you need about 5 or 6 candles to pass. So about 5 candles must pass to establish. So we'll see if price ends up swinging back or if it stays above here. Yeah, Cody said, or actually, let me go up real quick. He said the 10-minute strategy you just said with the low being green. So it's a continuation. It seems to work really well for NASDAQ on the 25 for 25.25 if trading with the trend. Let's see. So you're applying this on NASDAQ for the 10-minute, right, E? Yeah, I mean, it does work well here too. If you're trading the direction of the trend, which is what I mean, you should always trade in the direction of the trend, right? You should never really go opposite unless like you have a good entry for it. But yeah, you are right. So looking at this, let's see, there's no entry here. No entry there. So here's one entry right here that you could have possibly looked at. Price, price is trending up right here. There's actually 2 of them. So there's one. It's right there. I'm not sure. I think you mentioned the TP stop loss is like 250. I think this one right here might. So another thing that you have to keep in mind is that, so see how this candle here is too big? You have to have some sort of a process set where, like, for example, here, I wouldn't take this trade because if it pulls back to retrace half the candle, it'll stop you out before it hits, right? So for this one right here, I'd skip. Looks like that would have hit stop loss. Yeah, the candle's too big. Let's look at the next one over here. I think there was another one. Okay, so here's one right here that's fine. So same thing you mentioned, E. Right here, this candle here is not big. It's a normal size candle. The low here is a green candle. So low with the green candle, momentum signal right there. Trend meter is green. Everything lines up to an intraday entry. Same strategy that we apply on US30, but applied here on NASDAQ with a smaller TP stop loss. You were to take this here, full TP, right? So that would have hit. And then I think another one came up over here as well. Same thing again right here. It's an intraday entry, momentum's green, trend meter's green, price is above the pivots. The low right here is a green candle. Same thing again for a fixed TP stop loss of 250 pips. Right here, again, it's not a bad candle because the stop loss doesn't, or the candle doesn't exceed the stop loss. So you have enough space here to basically breathe when taking this trade. So if you take that there, full TP again. So yeah, exactly. Tony said E, every strategy works well in the trading market. The problem is when price is ranging. So I guess it's best to avoid ranging markets, which I agree with as well, Tony. Tony also mentioned it's always better your stop loss to cover at least the whole previous candle. And in a best case to cover the previous low. And I agree too. Yeah, definitely, Tony. All good points right there. But yeah, if you guys want to try this on NASDAQ, it's basically just a 10-minute strategy that I showed you guys earlier. It's just the intraday strategy. So you're looking for an intraday strategy and you're looking for 2 lows to not overlap or 2 highs if you're looking for a sell. So you're basically just looking for that and you have a fixed TP stop loss. So you can see right here for this entry, there was 2 lows here that didn't overlap. There's 1 low here, and then 1 low right there. Another addition would be that bottom with the green candle. So bottom with the green momentum, full TP. Same with this one right here, right? You have 2 lows here that don't overlap. there's a low and there's a lower low right here. With this one right here, same thing, low with the green candle, bullish momentum, a full TP. So it's the same strategy for US30. It's just applied on NASDAQ with a different TP stop loss. And it, I mean, it works pretty well. Oh, it's not on here. Weird. Actually, no, there it is. US30 just applied on NASDAQ. I think if I could find a sweet spot for NASDAQ, we can actually use this for both. So yeah, I think because if we could have a fixed TP stop loss, this would be good because we have some entries coming up for NASDAQ and some entries coming up for US30. But we'll go over that during the mentoring session later today. Back on US30 over here. Still nothing right now. Price is just ranging. How big is this candle? It's not huge, but still nothing for us to take right now. I was hoping we get something here on the 10-minute just to cover the breakout from today. Nice work, Patrick. So Patrick just posted his profits right here. Looks like he took a bunch of trades today. He said done for the day, locked in a total of 10,514. Nice work, Patrick. It's looking a lot better than mine. Yeah, no, you did pretty good. So pretty solid entries today. So I think the entries you took today were going to be these down here, these two buys. So this right here is for 100 pips. Looks like you took a 1-minute scalp off this one and then possibly this one right here as well. It's two trades down here. So let's see, 717. Oh, so you took this V1 right here, or so you took a trade at 717. Or I guess it looks like you might have taken this high-low scalp for a buy. Right there for 100 pips. And then your other trade, 26. It's like there was a V3 or a V1. There's a V1 right here, actually. It looks like it's still technically running. There's a V1 right there running. I didn't take it. There's a V1, there's an intraday right here. So I'll follow this right here. I'm not in this position for the V1. I don't like that the market is now kind of ranging a bit. Let me see the confluences here line with it. V3, V1, bullish, price rejection of structure. We don't have that there. Yeah, this is like the worst time to take trades like this when the volatility is super down or super low. Because the problem with this is you can get stuck in this position for a while and then it can literally spike to your TP or spike to your stop loss. So I'm not in this V1 right here. There just is no direction right now set to be running. I prefer to look on it. Like when the market's dead like this, I prefer to look on the 10, but even the 10 isn't moving at all either. Yeah, exactly. Jonathan said I want to take this, but it's in a range. Same here. If price wasn't ranging and it was still moving directional, then yeah, I would take the V1. But right now it's literally just going sideways. The range is going sideways right here across this high and this low. I mean, it's been ranging for a while now. US30 has been kind of whack for this. It hasn't been so great on the 1 minute for the past couple of weeks now, which is kind of normal because it is summer, but I was expecting it to at least push a little more. Um, so if you guys are not familiar with like how the market moves, the summer is usually like the worst time to trade because the volatility is it's so choppy. Like sometimes you'll get it where it's moving really fast, and sometimes you'll get it where it's moving really slow. There's no news today either. I don't think they've even started speaking yet. So they were supposed to speak. I mean, they are supposed to speak today, but they haven't even started speaking yet. We've been following this for a while now. Let's see, live is on. They haven't started speaking yet. Yeah, Peter said 6 more weeks and we'll be back to normal. Yeah, the summer season is well, if you guys have been with KT for a while, we've been trading live for like 4 years now. So you guys have seen like the seasons change. Typically during the summer, it's really hard. Like we'll go like sometimes a couple days without any trades. Um, that's why I'm trying to figure out ways to take the breakout either way. So we'll go over that later today during the mentoring session. But for the breakout, because this is where the volatility is high, right? You can see from like 6:30 until like the first 30 minutes of the market, basically. So basically 6:30 until 7. You can see that we have at least a push of at least 1,000 pips or so. So using this to our advantage, we can take the breakout in either direction. Like for example, right here, the breakout was for a sell, but we actually could have taken it for a buy. The reason for it to be a buy is because the trend here was bullish, right? The trend meter was green. Um, Overall, the pivots here were still bullish, and then also there was just other confirmations here indicating that it'd be a good entry for a uh, a buy instead of a sell, even though the breakout here was for a sell. So let me just go over here real quick. I'm gonna check the 10-minute. Yeah, so actually there'd be no high here. Actually, no, that's right. So looking at the high right here, in order for this to be a good sell, this high here would have to be a red candle, right? Since it's a green candle, odds of it pushing up higher are likely. So like for example here, there were so many red flags here indicating that this would be a loss. So instead of taking this for a sell, we would have taken the opposite for a buy. So I'm always looking for ways to optimize the market. Like the market conditions are always going to change, but there's always going to be certain strategies that you can use that will work under like pretty much all market conditions. So like the breakout here will typically always work. Doesn't matter what season we're in, because there's always going to be volatility around open. If that makes sense to you guys. The problem with this here is if you're trading later in the session, market volatility dies down a bit. So price goes from moving over 1,000 pips here to like now we're in this range. Price is moving like 500 pips. And it's almost impossible to find any good entries here. So yeah, just FYI. Maddie said V1 body about to hit full TP. So here's the same V1 that we marked up earlier, the one that I mentioned I wanted to take, but I'm not going to take because of price being in a range. And it looks like it's about to hit full TP right there. Yeah. So there's two entries that came up here actually. There's a V1 body, which is right there, and then there's also an intraday entry because this buy signal lined up with the trend meter down here. It was a small grind. It was a slow grind up, but it eventually did push up right there. So that'd have been two back-to-back wins for the those scalps there. And then Maddie also mentioned possible high low. If this ends up breaking, closing above it. So two back-to-back wins right there if you were to take those two scalps. I didn't take the trades, but I'm showing you guys that they did hit. So this V1 right here would have hit, and then this one right here as well, or the intraday. If price ends up closing above here, then possibly another entry, but it didn't. So this right here has already been validated. It's no longer useful. For the high-low scalp, you can't have price touching the previous high. So high-low scalp right here. Main thing is confirm price does not touch previous swing before breaking close, which it already did. It touched it right here on the following candle. All right, so no high-low scalp right there. But there were a couple 1-minute scalps along the way. Sam said I was in the V1 but pulled out early because of the range. It initially looked good because of the engulfing candle on the V1. Yeah, no, and I agree too. A lot of the confluences here were lined up for this V1 right here, right? So like this was a valid V1 with everything lining up. And then using the confluences here that I showed you guys, everything here kind of lined up as well. The only thing was that there was no price rejection on structure, but everything else here pretty much lined up. I did mark that up earlier. Let's see if like the low here was also green. So like, for example, there's a V1 right there going to the 10-minute. So the low here wouldn't fit that, that requirement, or not requirement, but confluence. Yeah, and sometimes it's better to just be safe than sorry, right? Like, for example, the market's just moving kind of all over the place today. So if you don't feel comfortable with the position, it's better to pull out with profit rather than holding on to it into the abyss, basically. Nice. Yeah, so Patrick said he was using the wrinkle from yesterday, trying to ride to the next liquidity. Yeah, it was a smart move. Patrick, nice work, Nelly over here. So Nelly over here locked in a total profit of 1,480. Nice work, Nelly. Good profit right there. And then some more profit over here by Patrick. So Patrick said, okay, really done. He's up 12,507. Nice work, Patrick. Yeah, so some solid wins right here. Patrick is basically looking for entries that will push to the next area of liquidity. Either next area of liquidity or like the next high. Like this area right here. Let's see. Yeah, so here's an example of that. So if you guys remember from the other day when I was going over, here's an example of like what Patrick is kind of doing here. He's instead of having like a set CP stop loss, he's basically riding to the next area, like the next high. So like, for example, the high is right here. For this right here, this could have been taken as a fixed TP stop loss type trade, or could have destroyed it higher to the next area up there, which is where price pushed up to. So if you guys are looking for like target areas, like for example, price is still pushing up right here, right now. The next target area would be this area right here. So price might actually push up a little higher and reach this next area right here, which is the next high. And this is another high-low entry right here as well. So earlier I was showing you guys how like you guys can use different strategies on different time frames, right? So the same high-low strategy that we're looking at on the 1 minute, it applies on the 10-minute as well. It's just on a higher time frame. So like the high-low scalp right here, you can see our price broke and closed above it. You could have used a fixed TP stop loss. I mean, if you really wanted to, for 500 pips. The fixed TP stop loss on the 10-minute, the sweet spot is about 500 pips. So if you took that right there, it'd been a full TP. However, if you wanted to ride it higher, like how Patrick's kind of doing to the next area where the high is located, it'd be up there. So you might see a continued push to the upside as price continues to, obviously move along. So it's 7:53 right now, guys. I don't really see any other entries here. If you guys see anything, feel free to let me know. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, we do have a lot of questions later today for the mentoring session. So I'll try to go over this stuff more in detail. If there's anything specific that you guys want me to cover or, really take a deep dive on, let me know, and I'll add it to the list of questions for today. So back to the 1 minute, there's nothing for us to take here at the moment. This high-low scalp wouldn't have been entry because price broke and closed past it. I mean, it broke past it, but didn't close. So there was a rejection off it, but not necessarily a break and close past it here. Other than that, I don't really see anything else at the moment. So just a refresher. So basically the main strategies that I'm kind of focusing on right now, because the volatility is kind of low throughout the session, is going to be the breakout and this 10-minute intraday entry. So these are the two main strategies that I'm going to be applying. I mean, for the time being, at least, because the volatility has been super low. This one is good because you can take this and you can just set and forget it. This is the intraday strategy. You can literally take this at any time as long as it's not between these restricted time periods. You can just take this and then you can just like pretty much leave it alone and let it run. So this is like one that I'm applying pretty much all throughout the day. And then for these live sessions, since these other variations and these other 1-minute trades are like harder to really identify and take, because a lot of times we end up in a range and it's just too difficult to take any trades. It's possible variation right here. But so for the live sessions, I'm probably going to focus on mastering the breakout, or not really mastering it, but finding out ways to take them in both directions. Because I think that'll be fine. If we're doing for a 1-to-1 risk to reward and you're only risking about like 1 or 2%, you should be perfectly fine. Because if we take this trade, like say for example, we take the breakout and then we have weekly trade examples, right? So like say for example, we have a 10-minute intraday strategy. Say we have like about 5 trades for the week, 1 trade, or 4 wins, 1 loss, or we'll just make it. We'll be modest, I guess. So like 3 wins, 2 losses, right? Just to like think of like the worst case scenario. And then for the 1-minute breakout, we have 5 trades for that week as well. For the week, and we'll be modest with this as well. We'll just say 3 wins, 2 losses, right? I'm just going to give you guys an example because this is during the summer. It's harder to take more trades like we do during the winter and fall, because the volatility is low. We can't really take a lot of these 1-minute trades. Market's just too slow, or it ends up ranging. So using this for example, and then say each trade taken with it's 2% risk. So in total, these are all for a 1-to-1 risk reward. Say we have 3 wins, 2 losses, right? So like the 3 wins, 2 times 6 is gonna be 12% gain. 2 times 4, 8% loss. Total of 4% gain, right? So if that's the case right there, and I'm risking about 2%, so like say we have a 4% gain for the week, and say I'm at a 200K count times 4%, it's about an 8,000 profit, right? 8,000 profit. And this is being modest, like saying that we do take losses. On some days, we'll probably just avoid trades if like there's news or something like that. So this is basically like my, not even ideal. This is like a modest week because typically we don't have this many losses, but if we're able to take like a couple trades a day, just applying the intraday, which I'll share with you guys if I see any entries, and then the 1 minute breakout in the morning. As long as you close out the week with positive gain, that's really the key thing there. And this would be basically, this would be considered, pretty solid if we're taking like, at least a couple trades a week. Because like, for example, the intraday strategy for this, I took a win on Sunday morning or Sunday night. And then I took a loss yesterday, but it was a dumb trade. It didn't fit the requirements. So that'd be for the intraday. And then for the breakout, if we take at least one each day for like minimal risk, this could be like a possibility. So just an FYI, this is probably what I'm going to be focusing on because as I mentioned, these negative risk reward trades, they're good when the market's trending or when it's actually moving. But right now it's just kind of slow. Like for example, right here, we don't really have very many entries. There's another V1 right here. I mean, they do come up, but they don't come up very often. Not as often as they typically would prior. Looks like it's about a TP right there. And then this would probably be like, it actually already hit TP off that first candle right there. You can see the little pointer. Here, let's see. Yeah, Tody said, I think the problem with the 1030 TP stop loss, you need a 75% win rate to be on break even, which is very hard for new members of K2 strategies. 75% win rate is a very high win rate. Yeah, no, and I agree with you too, Tony. And I think that's something that I'm going to change. So the thing with these 1 minute entries, like for example, this right here, this would be one that just hit TP. If it's been working for you guys, then continue applying it. It's perfectly fine. I'm gonna continue applying it myself, but I think during these live sessions, I'm not going to really. I'll let you guys know when I'm taking them, but it's like Tody said, it's hard for a lot of the newer traders here in K2 because you guys are not familiar with applying these strategies or the type of market conditions that are necessary to really have these, be winners. You guys will see here in the K2 group, there's a lot of people who actually take a lot of these trades, like Patrick here. He takes a lot of these 1 minute trades and they do hit his TP because he knows what he's doing. Patrick has been part of K2 for a while now. Like, I don't know how long you've been here, Patrick, but you've been here for, I'm pretty sure like over a year. You'll see a lot of people here who've been part of K2 for like some time, like Anelli's been here for a while too. And he can take those trades because he knows what he's doing. The problem with a lot of new traders is that when you guys see entries like this, you start to get greedy, right? Because it's such a high win rate that you want to take every single entry. But the thing with taking these entries here is that you have to identify what's quality and what's not. And for a lot of new traders, that's hard because you guys just want to take every entry. If you see one of these hit, you're like set to take the next trade and you start to take shortcuts and you start to skip steps. So yeah. And that's why I'm going to try to focus on like stuff here that's going to be more beneficial for a lot of you, I guess, newer traders that would feel more comfortable with a one-to-one because all these one-to-one strategies still have a high win rate. They're just not as high as these right here. So these 1 minute scalps, this is probably like a 75 or more % win rate for these one-to-one trades. They're basically going to be around like a 65 to 70% win rate. They're not going to be as high, but most of the time they're going to be higher quality and you're not going to have to worry about them as much. So, yeah, he said that's why I thought NAS would be better for new traders since one trade can't screw you. Yeah, no, and I agree too. Oh, fuck, I missed the trade here again. My bad, guys. There's another high-low scalp right here. All right, these trades are starting to come up a lot quicker. It is 8 o'clock though, so. Here, let's see. Yeah, and it's right at the sessions too, so I wouldn't have taken it. You're right, Maddie. Arash said negative R&R needs too much experience, I guess. Not really experience, but you have to like not get greedy, Arash, because the problem with a lot of new traders is that you get greedy, right? Because you'll see that, and I could show you all of the one, like all of these negative risk reward entries. So like there's one right here, right? This high-low scalp, this would have hit full TP. I'll show you the ones here because they all actually all of them hit. So like there's one right here. There's another one right here. So there was a lot of entries here that could have been taken. The only problem with this is that with a lot of new traders, you guys skip a lot of steps when identifying these entries here. So I'm just marking up all of the entries here that came up on the 1 minute because there were a lot of entries here. It's just actually knowing what you're doing, right? Because the problem is a lot of people, like when you start to see these entries here, you start to just kind of think that there's an entry in your mind, but realistically there isn't. I don't know if there's anything else here. Another one right here. So these are all the 1 minute entries that came up during this session today. Okay, so market open right here. Right. So just looking at this right here, these are all the entries that came up from this session today. So market open here at 6:30. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 1 minute entries and there was no losses. So if you took all these trades here, you would have been up 700 pips, right? The problem with this here is that people try to trade it both ways, or they try to take shortcuts when taking these entries here. So it doesn't necessarily require more experience. What's required is that you actually follow like the strategies as they're applied, right? Because I know sometimes here, like for example, this is one that I see people skip a lot. So for the high-low scalp, everything here is met. The thing that I see people skip a lot is the last requirement, confirming that price is not touched. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's more experience. It's more so just being able to be comfortable with the strategies here and take them without really thinking. Arash is asking, is it okay to stick to one strategy like the high-low? Yeah, that's basically what you should be doing. Like, so all of these here that I've marked up, these are all different, like a bunch of different entries. So there was this is a high-low scalp. This is a high-low scalp. This is a V1. This is an intraday. This is a V1, and this is a high-low scalp. So yeah, realistically, if you should just follow one strategy, Rush, and master it, right? Because the thing is, if you try to learn so many strategies at once, you're going to confuse them, and that's how mistakes are made, right? Because you're going to mix up these requirements with a different strategy, and then it's just going to be a mess. Yeah, no problem, Rush. C6 said everyone did pretty good for Trap Tuesday. Yeah, I wish I could say the same. John said most of those would have hit TP for with a 1-to-1. There have been a few losses, but mostly wins. Yeah, no, and I agree too, John. That's why for the 1 minute, I need to figure out what the sweet spot is. The sweet spot that I was looking at before was going to be 150. But the problem with that is that I think it's too close. So like, for example, here, if it's 150, this would be too close. Maybe 300 might be good. But you know, you have to figure out what the sweet spot would be for these because we don't want to take too many trades that are just going to be kind of all over the place. I think for the intraday entries like this right here, like say for example, we have this right here where it's green momentum plus 10 meters green plus prices above the pivots and everything else is met. Basically the same strategy applied here on the 10, but applied on the 1. Then we could probably use a fixed TP stop loss of 300 pips. But other than that, let's see. Tody's asking, Sean, I think the session's high-low marks wrong prices. Yesterday's London high. No, so the thing that a lot of people get confused with the session's high-low is that it marks up the high-low from the previous day, right? So the one that you're referring to yesterday, Tody, that's actually today. So until the session closes, it's going to update with today's high-low. So the thing that you were looking at yesterday was the one from the previous day. So you have to remember that the London session overlaps with US, so it's still, that's why this right here wasn't here before. If you look back before 8 o'clock, so there was no high here, right? This is the one that you're referring to. But when it hit 8 o'clock, when the session actually closed, so let's just move forward right here. Here's 8 o'clock, right? Now the London high-low now established because it goes to the previous day. So it goes to the day before, not the current day. It can't give you the current day because it hasn't closed out yet. But now that it's hit 8 o'clock, that's where it updates. Yeah, no, and I agree, Tony. It's confusing sometimes because you know, the sessions overlap. Yeah, no, it's no problem, Tony. It's the same thing. But other than that, let's see. Yeah, Peter said, when is the K2 EA coming out? LOL. Yeah, Raj said, I agree with you, Peter. By the way, the K2 strategies are very mechanical for algo. Yeah, no, I've already set up a couple strategies where they can be automated for the most part. I just haven't really been using them because we use other factors when analyzing things. But realistically, a lot of these strategies can be used even without confirming the bias and without confirming you know, news in general. So like, for example, here for these 10-minute entries, oh, and this actually hit its full TP right there, the one that I marked up. For these entries here off the 10-minute, whenever I take these here, I don't factor in bias and I don't factor in news. Like if I see an entry, I just take it no matter what. So yeah, no, a lot of these strategies can be applied mechanically. The only problem is on the lower time frame. So on the 1 minute, you're going to get a lot of like spikes in price, especially if you're trading during New York session. So for this, we do have to take bias and news into consideration and the sessions. But for the 10-minute, I don't even use the sessions for this at all. So like, for example, right here, like this one, I think this was an entry, or no, it wasn't. But yeah, for the higher time frames, I don't really use those because they can be used mechanically, just if you follow the steps here. So it's 8:10 right now, guys, so it's after 8 o'clock. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat now. Otherwise, we'll be back later today in a couple hours for the group mentoring session. So if you guys have any questions that are in detail and you want me to show you some examples, just come back to the group mentoring session later today at 2 p.m. It's 8 o'clock right now, so about 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, in about 6 hours, I'll be back live. If you guys aren't in the premium, it is live streamed to the YouTube as well. You just won't be able to ask any questions, but you guys are more than welcome to join and listen in on any of the questions here that the premium members do ask. I do have a list of questions, so I'll be going over a lot of stuff today. I'll also be going over the intraday strategy in detail. So I think our main focus for the mentoring session today is going to be really explaining this strategy right here. This strategy has a very high win rate. It's very reliable to just set forget. So this is one that I'll be going over. And then also on the 1 minute, I'll be going over the breakout. But I'll be showing you guys how I may be applying it to take both ways. So say, for example, we have a valid breakout, but the confluences are indicating that price is going to go opposite direction, then we can actually trade it opposite, right? So there's going to be an opportunity to take a breakout almost every day. And I think that's something that a lot of you guys would like because the breakout is a very lucrative strategy if you can, like, because you're going to know if you win within the first couple of minutes or not, right? It's not like holding on to a trade for like hours and not knowing if you're going to win or not. You're going to know right then and there. And since it has such a high win rate, you know, as long as you take the entry almost every day, you should end up with positive equity at the end of the week. So if you take it Monday through Friday, you should be perfectly fine because this strategy does hit more than it doesn't. So, all right, guys, I think that's it for right now. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me or message me on Telegram. Otherwise, I'll be back in about 6 hours for the next session, for our group mentoring session, and we'll go over that stuff in detail. And it'll be recorded, so if you guys can't attend it, it's perfectly fine. You guys can just rewatch it later. But we're going to be going over a lot of stuff that's really important to these current market conditions during the mentoring session today. So other than that, guys, I will see you guys in a few hours. If you guys have questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, see you guys back.